Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy? Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and so much more. I'm Brian.
I'm Damien.
I am Chad Nuss, creator of the sci-fi comic series The Silence, and you can find my comics on thesilencecomics.com.
Well done, Chad Nuss. I think the real Chad would be proud of your usurping today. And before we jump into the show, we want to say a huge thank you to Damien Waldron for joining us this evening to talk about a very special topic that I think we've all been feeling here lately. But before we do that, before we jump into the wonderful comments section, we would like to let you know that we are brought to you by the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Yes, we are a part of a wonderful group of shows, Sunday through Saturday, give you some amazing entertainment, all the way from our morning show, Never Mind the Furthermore, which will be tomorrow morning by the lovely and provocative Brian K. Morris, to the late night Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing, as well as Ted Davies does a really good show about some watches, and he and his wife do a drinking show as well, and there's just a lot of really cool stuff. Definitely check out all these shows, take a screenshot, and you'll have a lot of fun with everybody on that list. Speaking of having a lot of fun with everybody, let's jump into the comments section. Donna, how you doing?
Donna.
And hello Carl, how are you? And hello, Dastardly Dingoes podcast. How are you today? Carl says, interesting topic tonight, at least to me. I think it is to a lot of people. We've actually gotten quite a bit of feedback since I just posted the link this afternoon. So really looking forward to hearing what these guys have to say. And the Eric Hawkins says, wow, that is a lot of beards. And that it is, sir. That it is. Yep. I think this is a prerequisite to be on this show tonight. So, Damien, I'm gonna give you your full screen. What kind of beard you got there? It looks like. See, let's get in here. You got like a little Fu Manchu thing going on.
So here's the deal. Okay,
yeah,
when I was a kid, born in '76, rode in the front seat in the car seat, fell out of the car seat. Busted my chin.
That explains
a dent on my forehead. I think you can see it. There's over here. It's his number. You can see it. So I don't grow hair here. I just don't. Right. It's got a natural kind of split to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it today. I'm like, I need to trim this.
No, you should grow it out.
You could do like a comb over.
Yeah.
Just like brush it to one side.
Well, I can't. I try to grow this long so I can get that to go down, but it doesn't always work.
Well, like, honestly, I feel like you've got like you could grow it out on either side, and you just ride that Harley down the street. You know what I mean? I feel like that you're just ready for it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Brian K. Morris says, "I'm already suffering from delusions." I think we all are, buddy. Don't worry. And then he goes on to say, "Actually, I'm quite enjoying some of my delusions." That's the spirit. See, if you're gonna have delusions, might as well have fun with it. And Carl's saying hello. Sarah. How you doing?
Hello, Sarah.
Oh, man. Everybody's showing up. Oh, what is this saying? Hello, you bearded... What does that say? Bearded kids.
Bearded.
A stuttering problem I have. And Brian is saying hello to Carl. And Ted says anxiety is biatch. Yes. I believe we can all share in that sentiment, sir. Hello again, Sarah, and everyone is sharing their love with one another. And here we go. The wife has spoken. No, he should not grow it out, Brian. What? You know what? Hey, you have final say. I'm just here.
You don't look at me every day. I'm just saying.
I'm just here to cause trouble. That's all I'm here for. And Brian agrees. So, guys, thanks for being on the show tonight, Damien. I'm really glad you could be here. I'm really glad you're here instead of Chad. And I think that we have some pretty cool stuff to talk about right now. We've talked a lot. We talked about imposter syndrome on the show before, and we've mentioned mental health issues. We've mentioned some chronic illness issues, but we've not really had an episode specifically about mental health and creativity and how that how that relates to one another. The pros, the cons, what have you. So I just kind of want to open up the discussion, and everybody in the comments, you are more than welcome to chime in. We will be, bringing your comments and interact. You can ask questions, say whatever you need to say. But for right now, first topic or first question, I guess, is many creatives struggle with mental health issues. That's kind of a proven fact. A lot of people that have more of a creative mind tend to struggle with these things. Be it especially imposter syndrome, but be it ADHD, depression, fill in the blank, really. So why do you guys think that is? Damien, you want to go first?
I read actually an article years and years ago. I can't remember. I cannot cite it at all, so it could be just out of my head. I did read an article that said that the old adage, genius and insanity, kind of go hand in hand. That the human brain, as it was developing, may have treated artistic creativity, creating stories, creating scenarios, drawing pictures of things, as a mutation, and that it's as part of our development as a species. So it lends itself more towards that end of the spectrum to be a mental issue, where it's like it's actually a deviation from what the way the brain is supposed to have developed.
Interesting.
But I mean, personally, I'm steeped in it, so
I'm all kinds of messed up. No, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I've always I mean, I think definitely when your imagination works the way that a lot of creatives' imaginations work, and you're kind of I've talked to Robin about this a lot, because she is very analytical. She's an accountant, so she is very numbers focused, very very analytical, and I am not at all. I am very much loosey goosey up here in the head regions, and so we talked about the other day, actually, just how we see the world differently. We were talking, and because she caught me, I was just kind of staring off as one does, and to her, she's like, well, when I stare at the wall or something, just kind of check out, she's checked out. She doesn't, unless she's thinking of something specific, she's just kind of checked out. And when I seemingly check out, I don't. I am dreaming up conversations, and these things are just happening in my head. And I was telling her about this, and she's like, it was such a foreign concept to her. So it struck me as very interesting what you just said, because it's very much how, that the creative brain works is so different than, I don't want to say a non-creative brain, because I think everybody can be creative in their own ways. I mean, Robin is creative with her, being accountant. But
she cooks the books.
Right, exactly.
And there's structures and practices you can do that build creativity, but
but she doesn't think the way that I think, or that other creatives think, and so and that's how stories form in my head. It's just weird scenarios, different things pop in my head, which a lot of people say it's the same way that they end up with writing stories. And how many times have you heard a writer say, oh, well, the characters just wrote themselves? It's that kind of thought process. And somebody like Robin, when you say that, she's just like, what does that even mean? And it sounds crazy. it sounds like a mental disorder that you just have voices in your head, but we just write them down and sell them. But really, I do think that because we are in, as creatives, we think that way, you can get lost in your head very, very, a lot easier than other people can, or at least in a different way. And so I think because of how our brain works, we are more prone to have, some mental health issues, be it depression, overthinking. So that usually leads to imposter syndrome. And I mean, you could even down a more serious thing, multiple personality disorder, bipolar, things like that. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy? Or Chab Nust?
I think you guys have both brought up, great points. I think when you grow up and you feel different from everyone, I think you start to create the world that's like your own, that you can go to whenever you don't, whenever you are tired of interacting with the world where you feel different. Does that make sense? Like you create this place where you can exist easily, so that, when you have to jump back in the world and have these interactions and develop these relationships that are difficult for you, like you have that retreat to go to. I think is something that at least I find. You mentioned the whole, zoning out sort of thing. I mean, I do that all the time. I work from home. Like I've told you guys before, I and all of my stuff, it's down here in the basement. And Sarah will come home from work, and she's a pediatrician, so every minute of every day is interacting with other people. But I can be down here and not have a single conversation with anyone for a whole day, where it's only my mind all the time. And she comes home and she's like, this is my wife, I love her. She comes home and, she's wanting to engage on that same level.
Yeah,
which she has
catch up a
day,
little
and I'm
bit.
like, this is overwhelming.
Yeah,
I call it art brain.
Yeah,
I'll spend hours just working on something, art or whatever, and I'm so into it. My brain, like the language of creation, is different than the language of vocal speech with another human being. So it's like going from like English to Spanish. Like I don't know how to flip that switch enough to get that across.
For sure. Let's jump into the comments really quick. Sarah says it's the same with geniuses. Well, thank you. We'll take that as a compliment. And Carl Witzman, who was a counselor for a while, it says, from what I've seen practice, I think that many people have life issues, but creatives seem to show it more and often use it to their advantage. Yeah. It's become a trope, if you will. I think you're right, and we will get into some of that a little bit later, Carl, in our notes. And he said in his practice, yes. So, Carl, how long were you a counselor, if you don't mind answering that? Ted Davies said it's God's sixth sense of humor. Hey, you can draw. Here's some anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it does feel that way sometimes, man. Oh. And Sarah says she's enjoying this topic very much. So are we. Hopefully I think we've got some pretty cool things to talk about as the night lingers on. And Eric says creatives are creative because they have loose screws anyway. That is where the creativity leaks from. I really I know that's kind of a joke, but I don't think that, we're crazy necessarily, but I do think because of the way creatives think that they can, and I mean how many, you look at like Edgar Allan Poe, so many other writers, J.M. Barrie, the guy that wrote Peter Pan, they were notorious for either just completely slipping away into their own worlds, or having chronic depression, having these serious mental issues. I mean, H.P. Lovecraft had a lot of other things going on with racism and all that stuff, but like he was also known as a huge recluse and just really, you see a lot of the same tropes. I mean, even Stephen King, I've heard is very private person, very very reclusive type person, and he's really creepy anyway, as he should be. But yeah, no, I think there is something to that, for sure. Yeah. Brian says, agreed, Carl. But when the issues come with pressures that not all creatives deal with, well, look at all the rock musicians who didn't live past 27. Yeah, but that's what we're saying too. Is like they still have that same kind of thought process. I mean, a lot of musicians have the same type of brain. They're an artist. It's just their medium is music. So yeah, I really do think there's something to that. Carl says being creative is taking some mundane idea and making it into something else, isn't it? He said, and that is not what boring normal people do. and yeah, I mean, I don't want to call normal people boring, but like, but yeah, I mean, I agree. It's
like
most
Jim
people
Henson,
don't. Yeah,
right?
Most people don't dream up entire worlds inside their head. That doesn't happen to normal people. And I thought it did. I thought it did, and people just kind of lost magic when they went to a day job or something. And so I was like talking to Robin about that, and Robin was like, and that's when the conversations, and we've had that type of conversation many, many times. But the first time I brought that up, that's what she sees. She's like, no, she's like, I don't think that way at all. And she was just fascinated to hear how crazy I was.
I wonder if like that's where a lot of authors get that like narrative structure of losing the ability to see or do magic when you become an adult. That idea of people like forcing you into this mold, or you were talking about like that's what people who have like a regular job do. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if
that makes a lot of sense.
Somebody like caught wise to that and was like, I think that would be neat to just use as like I said, like a catalyst or something, in their story.
Yeah. Go ahead, Damien.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, like on that note, I mean, we're people that express this creativity, but there are people that gave up on it. They had it and they didn't see a way past themselves or past the world they saw as reality in front of them. My dad was one. My dad was a poet and a writer, and he refused after he had children. He's like, I have to be responsible. I can't pursue my dream. And gave it up. And it was like a huge stone around his neck, that he wore the rest of his life. That, I wanted to be creative. I had this in me and I gave it up. So when I started showing signs of that, it was, but not even just but you need a backup. It was how do you know you'll be successful? You don't even know. Like, why would you even try? And I mean, since we're still talking about mental health issues, that did not help the issues I already had. So, that caused me to have things continue on from that and just create this whole weird cycle. Yeah. But, yeah.
Hold on. I lost connection really quick. Vamp amongst yourselves, won't you?
You lost connection?
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. Sorry.
It's all right, Brian. We're here for you.
Sorry, all the notes just went away on me. So this is fun. I was ready to go, and then here we are. I got them again. Okay.
I'm sorry I broke down the shit.
You broke it. Well, way to go, Dame. No, I'm blaming Chad. This isn't your fault.
Freaking Chad.
So creativity, we talked about this a little bit. Creativity is used as an escape for people either in creating it or consuming it. So how can we as creatives use this to fight the mental health crisis in our community specifically? What do you think, Jeremy?
I mean, I think being involved in your community in any way, I think a lot of times, I mean, me saying that, it hurts me physically, because the last thing that I want to do is be interacting with like unknown people, right?
Yeah.
I've got the people that I like interacting with, but to throw myself into a position where I have to interact with somebody that I don't know, that's just nightmare fuel for me. But being involved in your community in any way, being known by these people as a creative person, I think you get opportunities to then talk to other creative people, right? Because somebody says, "Hey, I've got a friend who is really into this sort of stuff. Can you give him a call," or something like that. Even though I am not, I'm such a noob when it comes to comic books and things like that. I can't tell you how many times somebody has said, "Hey, my kid really likes comic books. Can you recommend some for him?" So being available in those sort of ways to encourage that, rather than, if you weren't on that person's mind, they may say, "I don't know, figure out how to find good comics on your own," and that may fizzle somebody out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
being there and available, I think, is really the best and first thing you have to do.
Yeah. And I think really, being there, being available. I mean, things like, and honestly, I mean, I know I've bragged on the Rising Tide Network quite a bit, but not for no reason. I mean, I was last year. I've said this many times. Last year, when I was at home by myself all the time, I stumbled upon this community, and I had never heard the term imposter syndrome before. I had never really thought about my mental health up to that point. And at that time, all this stuff was kind of bubbling up and really coming to the forefront of my mind now. And I was realizing that I actually had some mental health issues and I needed to address them. And this community really kind of helped me wake up. And I didn't have like a specific conversation with anybody. It was just being in this group where people were talking about it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing we can do as creators is talk about it. And through our art, through our music, through our videos, we can bring it to a place where you don't have to be ashamed, because that's such a huge stigma from anybody dealing with depression, any kind of mental health issue at all. Like I said before, fill in the blank. It has always been looked at in our culture as something that it's hush hush, and I think that the way to fight that, the way to come alongside other creators, to let them know, hey, everybody deals with these things. We all deal with them in different ways because we're all different people. And instead of, just holding it all in and pretending like it's not there or that it's some kind of weakness, first of all, address it through talking with community. Secondly, seek some help, be it doctor, be it medication if need be, some kind of therapy. And also, if you are a creative, I think one of the best things you can do is express those issues, those feelings through your art. And I mean, I'll tell you, I have definitely done that with Memoirs of an Angel, with the Nebulizer. The Nebulizer was pure therapeutic bliss for me. because I was stuck at home because of my asthma. And what better way to address this feeling of loneliness and just, feeling like I can't go do anything at all. And I've felt that way many, many times in my life because of my asthma. And funneling it into something where not only other people, not only is it something that I'm getting out of me to release these feelings, but I'm also providing something that other people can join in and relate to and laugh at. It's not just gloom and doom. You don't have to, if you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with loneliness, you're dealing with a chronic illness, it doesn't have to be super serious all the time. I'm not super serious all the time. I don't know if you know that or not, but I know I'm such a stoic, but like I didn't want the nebulizer to be a gloom and doom thing, but I wanted to express, the real feelings that I was feeling. And so I created some fun, colorful, post-apocalyptic world that addressed these serious issues that I was feeling and still feel and will continue to feel in the future. So, Damien, you got any thoughts?
Well, see, that's what I think we all can do is normalize the conversation, normalize the discussion. Like we have to be okay to talk about these things because it's the only way we're all going to know that we are on the same page or we all have had these feelings. You mentioned what got me to that thought was that when you mentioned the rising tide, you had said things to me repeatedly, like, "Hey, watch the show. Watch the show. You share links. You take care. You always take care of people. You share their links and you say good things about it." And one day I was just...
They pay me, don't worry.
I know how Brian pays you.
They pay me, yes, they pay me. He pays me through the flesh. It's wonderful.
But I just started watching it. Like you linked
uncomfortable.
Good.
So were the whips and chains. But the sorry. The family show. I keep forgetting. The gist was I started watching it and it was like I kept hearing things that I've thought. Like you were saying, there were these just mirror things that people were saying, or people, frustrations they were having with their own creativity or expressions of their creativity, and that idea of, we're all in it together. We're all in our different places and our different spaces, and we're doing our own different things, but together we can be a community. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how dark I had gone till then, because I had multiple times last year was like, I just need to, I had been laid off and then lost my job because of COVID. And I'm just like, I just need to get a job, make this all a free time thing. And then I got one and I liked it. And 3 weeks later, they let me go because of COVID. And I'm like, COVID? So I was in a dark place. I didn't realize it until I started being around people who were like, it's okay. It's okay to be in a dark place. Reach out. There's ways to normalize the feelings so that I say normalize, but I mean, make it okay to feel okay yourself to bring these things up and talk about it.
Make it not taboo.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's that. I think with our art, we can do that. And I think we can do it in a much more direct way than like I'm trying to explain and maybe I'm not explaining correctly. We can do it much.
Good job.
Well, thank you. We can do it much more clearly through these, in interpretations of ourselves that we create. Because with Romer, that was a perfect example of me being afraid at a time in my life where I didn't know where I was going to go, but I was excited because I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I put all of that, that I'm 17 years old, I'm about to go into the world and I have no clue what I'm doing or where I'm going. It's just, I want to do it. And that was the crux that started that whole thing off. And here I am 25 years later, still getting it out there, trying to get it out there. Yeah. And because it became that catharsis for me, for those feelings.
Oh, I mean, and I think in that way, which, you watch movies like Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and The Man Who Invented Christmas, about Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol. And if you haven't watched those movies, you should, because both of them do a very, very good job of showing how the creative mind works. In these both of these movies, The Man Who Invented Christmas is a little more lighthearted, but both of them show how these characters just appear. And these creators, when they completely lose themselves and immerse themselves into this world that is inside their head. And so that can be very addicting when that becomes your escape. And the danger with that is, and I found this in my own life, my own marriage with Robin, I have found where I didn't even realize it, but I have been gone. Yeah. I'm in the next room, sure, physically, mentally, I'm in another world.
Yeah.
And when it becomes an addiction to escape, the real world, it can be a help, and it can also hurt as well. And I think that is just a constant juggling act, for sure. So let's jump. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a concept in mental health called intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
And I think that's evidence for a lot of creatives struggling with mental health things, because that idea of a thought like elbowing its way into your brain is something that not a lot of people experience. It's like they're in control of their own brain, so they're not having this like battle over bandwidth. Yeah. But those intrusive...
How very IT of you.
Yeah.
Very good analogy, though. Very, very.
Yeah, it is a very good analogy. Yeah, it's spot on.
Yeah, so I think I think those intrusive thoughts, it's something that when we say escape into a world, what we're meaning is those thoughts are coming in, and we're like, "Hey, welcome back, everybody." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very much what it is. Yeah. Oh man. So thank you for that. Sarah says she's actually working on therapy homework while listening. Hey, all right.
Boom.
Nice.
Yeah. You can quote us if you'd like. We are not professionals. There we go. Donna says she living with a psychologist. May God have mercy on your soul. And Carl said over 20 years of mental health work, then another 15 or so in IT, which was pretty close to, yes, as a guy in IT currently, I concur. Absolutely.
It's like exercise in mental health, right? Like, this is like a crucible to determine whether you really have it under control or not.
Right. Sarah says a lot of creative comedians struggle with depression as well. Yeah, and she said that's how I see them coping with it. Really, that's huge. Because I mean, you look at Robin Williams for prime example. He's always the first person that comes to mind when talking about the face of depression. You've seen those memes where it's just someone smiling or laughing, and it's true. It's very, very true. Most people who struggle deeply with depression try their best not to show it, and I think a lot of it is because mental health issues are so taboo. Because when you let people see that, they look at you differently.
Yeah.
You want to think they don't, and even if they have the best intentions, they still sometimes do. And I think it's because of how our culture sees mental health. Is if you don't have it all under control, something's wrong with you. You need to stay over there. I don't know if I need to get mixed up in your business. All this, crazy talk where it's like we're all dealing with this on some level. That's a good point, Sarah. Yeah, I mean,
my mom calls it Donna Reed crazy. Pardon the term. Where everybody has their pearls on and they all look nice and everybody's happy, but in the surface, there's some real weird
Stepford wives stuff going on there.
Rolling.
Yeah,
and you can, but all my family's a little. So we could smell our own. And so it's interesting to pick those people out of a crowd, but you're like, what?
It's like,
yeah,
right, exactly.
Man, no, it is weird though, because like, well, for example, I mean, I don't want to get, want to talk about religion and politics too much, but how many, evangelicals are coming out of the woodwork as doing something crazy, like, I mean, I don't remember who it was. I think it was the president. What was it? The president of Liberty University, which was like a Christian. He was him and his wife were like banging the pool boy and all this good. But on the outside, like they were, squeaky clean, good Christians. And then this stuff comes out and it's like, well, clearly there's some real issues that were happening with these guys, but because they were, because of a combination of things, but a part of it was, I'm sure, when some things came up, they didn't know what to do with a lot of these mental issues, and then went off the rails. And then they realized what they'd done and they had to hide it, and it just becomes this whole snowball of a thing. And so it's either do that or talk about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, my goodness, I choose talk about it.
Or accept yourself for who you are and whatever proclivities you.
Well, that's a part of it, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, but my point is, when you try to hide it and hold it all inside and not say anything to anybody about anything that you're struggling with or any kind of, trauma that you've been through or anything, you end up acting out in larger ways, usually down the road, or you just repress it so much you become a goblin, essentially, nobody just wants to be around you anymore because you become this thing.
At the very least, it's evidence of a conflict of some sort,
Yeah.
The guy's name was Jerry Falwell Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, there had to have been something going on that caused him. I think what happens when there's situations like that is something has caused you to kind of like go into your brain and stay there for too long. And you start to, I was told something, people with ADHD, they have conversations in their head so much that they forget to have conversations on the outside. And I can't tell you how many times I have talked to Sarah and is like, hey, did you do that thing that I asked you to do? And she was like, we never talked about that. Not even one time.
I do that too.
You know what I mean? And I think that's, again, another thing that's a result of being inside your brain too much. And I think those conflicts, if you stay inside for too long, those conflicts can just distort the way that you see the world. You stay inside that depression for so long, you just think the entire world sucks, is always going to suck, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? It just amplifies those bad feelings.
Yeah, it's like there was a GIF of of a little kid who was like, it looked like the little kid was drowning. He was like laying horizontally in water, and he's like screaming and blah, 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 blah. And then somebody walks over and sets him up, and he's in like knee deep water. And I mean, a lot of times I can do that when I get to a place where I am just like overthinking everything and I am completely stuck in my head. All I have to do is talk to somebody half the time, and then hearing their thoughts, their perspective, it makes me realize, oh, this thing really isn't as big of a deal as I thought it was. And so I think we can do that about so much in life, and I honestly, that right there is what most of the time drives me to imposter syndrome. Is I get stuck in my head and I think through all these things, And I think one of the worst things you can have is what I've called imaginary conversations, where you're essentially filling in the role of someone else that you're thinking about, or a situation that you're dealing with, and you're having these imaginary conversations inside your mind, and really all it is just you. Yeah. And no one else is talking with you at all. So all you're doing is just snowballing this stuff.
And the next time you see that person, you're like, you're mad at them.
Yes.
But it's like for nothing they did.
Right.
It's
right.
just this imaginary conversation.
Yes. Yeah. And you can do that with allowing imposter syndrome to come in. And this is just my personal experience. I've done that before in just comparing, somebody has, if somebody has some great success, first of all, I'm always checking my heart and my mind with, I don't want to look at somebody else. I can't remember who said this, but never look. The only reason you should ever look into your neighbor's bowl is to make sure that they have enough, not to see if you have as much as they do. And so that's kind of always in my head. Like if I ever get to feel the bubbling temptation of like, they have made more money on Kickstarter than me, or ooh, they have more backers, or fill in the blank, whatever. They're obviously more successful and better artists, better creative than I am, or will ever.
I'm having flashbacks. That's why I'm laughing. So
well, no, really though, like those things happen all the time to so many of us, and that's where you can start doing these imaginary conversations, imaginary comparisons. You can think through all of these things because you don't see the behind the scenes stuff that they're going through, because they're also doing the exact same thing that you're doing.
I guarantee you that you're thinking way more than they are about a scenario. Yeah.
And so in that way, you start to feel like you don't measure up. You start to feel like you don't belong. And then that can spiral into depression. That can feed into your depression. That can feed into your anxiety. That can feed into all of these things. I know because I have gone through it. And that's just one way. That's just one thing that really, I think, affects our community that we don't talk about really. But it's all happening. We're all feeling this. I mean, good grief. If you have run a Kickstarter campaign or been a part of one or rooted for one, you know what I'm talking about.
Just sitting there with the refresh button.
Yes, for sure.
please more money, please.
And so in that, it's just this, as a creative, and I feel like I'm starting to ramble a little bit now, but I feel like thanks, Jeremy.
We disagree.
No, but I feel like as a creative, all of these things, the imposter syndrome, the depression, the anxiety, all this stuff that we deal with is so connected. And a lot of it is because we just don't talk about it. And that's we're still going to deal with it when we talk about it, right? It's still going to be there. It's not like it's going to be the fix all, but I feel like it would really help so much if we were all more open about it and all, willing to talk to each other in a genuine way and have more conversations like this. Like I'm thankful for both of you guys for being here and being vulnerable. Because it's scary to get out in front of people on YouTube or anywhere and talk about this stuff, like for reasons we've already said about just how our culture is jacked up. So Sarah says, she said, I'm glad to be hearing mental problems being discussed without it being seen as taboo. Yes, absolutely. That's what we're here to do for sure.
Taboo
and do what?
Taboo is just a game.
Indeed.
That's right.
Indeed. I forgot about that game. Carl said, as Chad was talking about being available for folks, I tried to take all the clients who were creative so they might not be judged by other counselors. That's really good on you, Carl. That's awesome.
And you misspelled it. It's Chab.
Chab.
With a B.
Eric Hawkins says, Rodman, you and I do very different things when we are at home alone. And that's, I don't want to get into that. That's for another show, Eric. And Carl says, I like to look at it on a spectrum from total conformity with society all the way to total nonconformist, and how well each person can use their skills. For sure. Sarah says brain scans show different parts that are lighting up differently than the normal, with normal being a relative term, for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing is, and even in like creative circles, right? Like we can't just say, well, every creative experience is this way, because we're all individuals. We all do it differently. We all of our unique brains work uniquely, and you do have certain things that are in common, and we can all relate to each other on some level, but we aren't like I don't know what Jeremy's going through because I'm not Jeremy, and vice versa, you know. And Damien doesn't know what I'm going through because he's not me.
Is Jeremy one of your friends?
Oh yeah, sorry,
Your
Chab.
other friends?
I apologize. Yeah. I apologize for talking about someone who isn't here. Yeah. Obviously, Carl says things like Hemingway's alcohol usage were accepted, but Van Gogh's behavior was not. Yes, that is a perfect example. It is interesting how we can look at things like alcohol abuse and call it a disease and really cater to that. And it is, don't get me wrong. I come from a family of people who abused alcohol and wrecked their lives because of it. And, thankfully no one in my immediate family, but, grandfather, uncles, all this stuff. But it does seem, I mean, you look at, AA is out there. All these things are, they're kind of taboo, but they are a little more socially acceptable than behavior, acting out and things like that, just from mental health issues. And Freud experimented with cocaine on himself. Jeremy is going to experiment with that later, I think.
Yeah.
Also man flesh. That's for you, Damien.
Man.
And oh dear. Let's see. Carl says the internet has allowed us all to form roundtables like the writers in the 1940s used to have. That is true. I'm actually really thankful for places like this, where we can come, we can talk together, we can interact in the comments, and we can provide a safe place. And really, I think the more we do this, the better, the more it's going to catch on, the better it's going to be.
The better the internet will be.
Indeed. Lauren Waldron, Damien, I think you know her, says that's a great point, Carl. The internet has made it so much easier to find your people, those who are like-minded and can encourage each other in their individual creativity, and I absolutely agree. So does Carl. And then he says, and not to feel too weird within the group of weirdos. I don't know about that. That might be a little too far. Brian K. Morris says, you call them weirdos, Carl. I call them my people. And then Carl says, yes, right, BKM. And sometimes I have to tell one of my friends, you are scaring the normals. Yes, I've heard that directed at me before. And then she knows to tone it down. I think he's talking about Donna, but I think there's a lot of us that could also fill in that blank. We smell our own. Damien Waldron, I think if we can take away just one thing tonight, that should be it. And I agree. Yeah. I think that would be one. Well done. That was a wonderful quote.
You did it, buddy.
Night. You did it. You did a great job. Sarah says, yes, I deal with intrusive thoughts, and automatic negative thoughts are rough too. I've learned to put these negative thoughts into one column and replacement positive thoughts to help retain. That's great. I need to work on that, honestly. Because I struggle with that in big ways. I think for me personally, and I don't mind sharing this, we're all family here, right? Mm-hmm. But no, I really do. I struggle with having just constant negative thoughts, and I'm in the process right now of finding a therapist because I think that would be helpful for me. And I do think, I've talked to a couple people today already that are kind of in the same boat. And the biggest problem that we're all running into is money. because there are tools out there. There are things like BetterHelp, a lot of like online app driven stuff that are really helpful. I know some great people that are utilizing it. The problem is they're really expensive.
Yeah.
So
now your insurance will cover some of them.
Yes.
Will cover some in FSA. If you have an FSA account, they will actually let you pay with them with that.
Yeah.
But it's you have to go work with your insurance to figure.
Oh yeah. It's our healthcare is stupid. But anyway, no, that's great, Sarah. That's an awesome thing to think through, and then she says retrain the mind. Yes. And Carl agrees. Eric says, "Oh goodness, we had a comment down." Eric says having a having a threesome with the pool boy is a sign of mental issues. For some, I guess, Eric. I don't know. Maybe not for you, but you are the Eric Hawkins. Sarah says there are reasons for keeping it on the down low, and a lot of that has to do with being in a relationship where the soft spots used as ammo from a grandiose narcissist when he didn't get his way. Yeah, that's another thing that I'd like to kind of camp out here a little bit, is just how, as a creative, and we've kind of mentioned this a little bit, but how, as a creative, in a therapeutic way, do you think we can address trauma that we've gone through?
Well, I mean, so for me as a videographer, the easiest and most straightforward way is sit in front of the camera, talk about it, put it on the internet. Sometimes, a lot of video creators struggle with, what do I, they almost want to create this persona of this person. You've all seen the content creators, right? They're only taking pictures or videos of themselves like jumping out of airplanes and swimming out to remote islands, and
it's like they live from one mountaintop to the other.
Yeah,
and it's insane.
Like, how did you get there? There had to have been something frustrating that happened. Like,
there have been
of that?
There's a new trend now that is doing just that.
Oh, nice.
Finally, I'm seeing a lot of it with I love street skateboard videos, and I'm seeing a lot.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah, I used to do certain things, and I love watching the progress of someone learning how to do a trick. And they're really starting to show, because a lot of times you see those highlight videos where it's just everybody doing these amazing things, and you don't see any of the practice. You don't see any of the falling down and getting back up, the cuts, the blood, the tears. You don't see any of that stuff. Well, now you're starting to. I think because they've realized that this trend is making people feel like dirt about themselves. And they're starting to show. The last one I saw was the best. It actually made the trick, just that one little trick. It was just I think it was just it might have been just an ollie. I don't know. It was really simple, but getting to that point, the progress was so much better. You saw the struggle, you saw the journey, and the payoff was awesome because you saw the struggle. And I feel like we're missing that with these videos of just highlights. It's like that's what social media has almost become. We're just living highlights. Yeah, you're just living out highlights on Instagram, and you're seeing everybody else's highlights, and you think you're just utter trash because you can't live up to their highlights, when really nobody can. Nobody can live up to constant highlights. That's not a thing.
You can't walk outside and be in Hawaii. I mean,
you can if you live in Hawaii
with like a 6-pack and like birds and flowers all around you. Like, people see that and think, that they have to go there or be that in order to be cool or normal or whatever.
Yeah. Or like, what did it take to get a 6-pack? Like that's
I have
big
no
thing.
idea.
I have no idea either. I have a keg, but I'm just saying, like, they're like
that's back a beer or a Coke. Like, what are we talking about?
either one. No, like, really, you see all these like fitness videos of like these guys who are like, hey, I have an 8-pack. You should, take these jelly tablets and you'll look like me. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Jelly
I am a,
tablets.
like it's like that's not a thing at all. It took this person years and so much dedication, so much money, to get to so much hard work to get where they are. You're not going to get there, in 6 months. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to transform into Ben Affleck's Batman by next July. That's not going to happen. Now, unless I had like a personal trainer that was just following me every day and night and slapping the pizza out of my hand, then, that might happen.
No.
Which would have to happen. But, yeah, living from highlight to highlight on social media is no way to compare your life. And I think it's done a lot of damage. I think it's done a lot of damage to how we see ourselves. So let's polish off these comments, and we'll go to the next and final question. Sarah says she doesn't open up like this in most cases unless it's a topic of healthy conversation. Well, thank you. We're honored that you feel comfortable to talk about this here. It's a safe place, and thanks for opening up, Sarah. You brought up some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Ted says distractions cause dysfunction. That's why you don't have a pool boy. A forgotten wife. Oh, and a pool.
The pool is the most important part.
The pool, yes.
You
can't have a pool boy if you don't have a pool. I mean, I guess you can. If you have a pool table, that's a different pool boy, I guess. I don't know.
Pool, inflatable kiddie pool.
Oh, now we're getting weird places. And Carl says, sorry, Chab.
No problem.
Yeah. She said Sarah says she's very cautious who and what specifics she opens up about. And it depends on who she's talking to. That's actually really smart. And that's actually another really good topic we can talk about. See, you're running the show here, Sarah.
Yeah.
My goodness. Boundaries. Huge. Right? Like, and this isn't in the notes, I apologize, but just kind of off the cuff, guys, Damien, how have you, as a creator, found that setting appropriate boundaries for your mental health has made you a better creator?
I'm still struggling with that.
Yeah.
I realize
I think it's an ongoing thing.
I want people to like me. So much that I'm willing to give away the store sometimes. If someone's like hiring me to do something or wanting me to work on a project with them, I'm willing to give up more than not realizing that it reflects on me as my value, not even seeing it that way, because I have issues with seeing my own value in a lot of ways, but I want to give of myself till it hurts because I want them to like me. I want to keep that collaboration going. I want to keep that, whatever that back and forth is going. And it's only been recently that I've realized that I do that. And I'm trying to get off that, to value myself, value my work, and it's okay to get paid. It's okay. It's okay to get paid for what you want to do. And it's you don't have to necessarily give away everything. People come to you, it's because they like you. They like what you do. It's hard for me to accept that. Yeah. I think for me, it's an ongoing battle still.
Yeah. And I think any artist, I think any artist, especially those of us who struggle with imposter syndrome, which is, I think, what you just described, is, you either go in that direction. Yeah. You either go in that direction or the opposite, where you're like, I'm amazing. You should pay me $3,000 a page for your comic book, and I will not accept any less. You get those people where it's like, dude, you can't really draw that.
That's a great deal.
That's a fantastic deal. I would love it if anybody ever pays you that. First of all, they're crazy, but no, like I do. I think I have seen you Damien, grow in that area quite a bit. Because I know there have been times where, I've seen you interact with people where you were a little sitting next to you in Comic Cons and stuff. You did tend to kind of like give away your work and stuff like that, and now I'm seeing that in an appropriate way. You see the worth of what you have, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a healthy thing, because there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong. It's actually good to get paid for the work that you do. Now, if you want to gift something to somebody, that's up to you, but don't do it because you think you're not worth it.
Yeah.
Because that's not true at all.
Well, and I mean, we live in a capitalist society, and the idea is that if someone will pay you a certain amount of money for a product, then that's how much it's worth.
Yeah.
Right. So every once in a while, somebody will, ask for a quote to do something, and I'll just throw out something. You kind of like have a little bit of, you think about that. There's
kind of thing.
Yeah. And, I'll throw out something like twice what I would normally do just to see, because I mean,
so you heard it here first, folks. If you approach Jeremy for a project, he's going to charge you twice what he's worth.
No, it's more of like an exercise for me to say, because what I charge is probably not enough.
I will tell you, it is not. I'm thankful that it's not, because I believe I'm quite a customer for you, and I appreciate that. But no, I think the quality of work that you do, and I think that is a huge struggle when you get indie creators who are unknowns that make high quality work. Is you have a struggle with nobody knows who you are. So in their minds, they're like, why should I pay you as much as somebody over here, even if your work is better? Yeah. And it's because they've never heard of you before.
I've seen some really, really terrible, poorly drawn, like Marvel comics.
Oh,
there's one in particular. It's a Wolverine comic, and I can't remember which one it is. Yeah. Oh yeah, I showed you that.
You showed it to me and Chad. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. That's not art. It should be wiped from the face of the earth. It's just so awful.
I must know what this book is. What number the book this is.
I'll send it. It's in our feed. We'll send it to you. It was. He's right. It is pretty bad. Yeah. I had not seen the cover before. I think it might be a variant cover or something, but it was so bad.
Yeah. So it's like, just because you're unknown doesn't mean you're not good at what you do and shouldn't be paid.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I'm saying. Rant over.
For sure. And Sarah says the replacement of thoughts is something she learned in therapy, and it's a very good. That's a very good tool to have. She said there's written work between sessions. Let me try that again. There's written work between session hard work, etc. Yeah, and I mean, there's dealing with mental health struggles is gonna take some work regardless, and that in and of itself can be daunting and extremely exhausting to just face the like insurmountable cliff that it appears to be. And that's another reason why I really want to harp on community, the importance of dealing with this with loved ones and people that you can trust. Because if you try to tackle this thing alone, it's always going to look like an insurmountable mountain that you cannot climb and you cannot get over, because I'm a firm believer that you can't do it by yourself. I don't think we're meant to do it by ourselves. I think that's the point. Lauren says, I applaud you, Sarah, for doing the work. I know it's not an easy process. It's really, really not. Sarah says, I just saw your comment, Lauren. That's sweet of you. It's merely something I focus on for recovery, pretty much like physical therapy. The brain is physical too, but seen as taboo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense Lauren agrees. And you're welcome, Rodman. Thanks for making it a good discussion. Well, I'm not alone. You guys, these two are here to help me, and you guys are doing a pretty good job in the comment section too. You
Hey, I blanked on that
specifically,
one
Sarah.
question. I'm not doing too great.
Ted Davies says curation helps my mental health. Saying no helps. Saying no is huge. Saying no is hard sometimes. It is very, very hard sometimes. But it is huge. I feel like Brian's calling me out because I am amazing and I am worth what I'm paid. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
You are, Donna. Make people pay you. That's important. Ted says
True.
Damien is an artist in the truest sense of the word. Da Vinci of resin. Oh, straight from the Ted Davies mouth. Well,
excuse me. Oh, was that for me?
Yeah. Oh, gross.
He hates my illustrations, but he loves my resin.
Eric Hawkins says, ironically, since I have raised my commission prices, I get more requests at cons, and that's funny. But Eric, you're also, my gosh, like just if you guys haven't checked out the Zombie World of Oz, you need to, because issue 1 looks really good. He did a great job. It's fantastic. But by issue 3, the improvement of when I opened the first page of issue 3, I swear it was a Marvel book. It looks so good. So yeah, you have raised your prices, as you should, because you've gotten a lot better. As you know, thankfully we all have as artists. And Ted Davies says Jeremy is a master. He did my video for Grimm 101 book 2, and it was very well priced and a pleasure to work with. There you go. See, he did not charge Ted Davies double what he is worth.
Or did
he? Thank God. Or did he? Yes.
You played right into my trap.
Indeed. Sarah says, per Robin Williams, I watched an interview with his wife. She understood because he had recently been diagnosed with degenerative brain disorder. I'm not trying to support suicide. He didn't want to. Yeah. Or he didn't want to live through that. And yeah, I'm not supporting suicide at all either. But yeah, that was unfortunately kind of what did it for him. He realized
I was in tears through that whole
documentary.
I'm sure it was the same one that she's referencing.
Where they said he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia.
Yeah. It was rough. I remember where I was when I found out that he had passed away. I got the notification on my phone from CNN, and I was in Target. And this is oddly enough, I realized for some reason I didn't own Mrs. Doubtfire, and I had just picked the movie up and put it in our cart. We went down next aisle, and I got the notification. It was so tragic. But yeah. Sarah says, again, not enabling suicide by any means, just talking about what I listened to. No. We definitely didn't take it that way. Don't worry. Brian K. Morris, The Zombie World of Oz is a terrifically edited book. So is Grimm 101. I wonder who edited those books. Actually, Brian is a fantastic editor and a fantastic writer. My goodness, pick up. It is the Christmas season, folks. And since we are talking about Brian K. Morris, that's not that book. Well, but this is another book. Pick up The Haunting Scripts of Bachelor's Grove. Also pick up Santa Stein. Christmas gift for somebody that you love who is an aspiring writer. Also, Santa Stein. Fantastic book. It's hilarious. The first, I think it was like in page 2, I belly laughed. It's such a great story. Carl Whitman says before Robin Williams, his idol Jonathan Winters had a break with reality, and Andy Kaufman. Yeah, Andy Kaufman as well. Andy Kaufman's break was so crazy and so powerful that people still to this day believe he didn't actually die. They believe
really?
People believe because of the style of his comedy, Because it was kind of out there, and you know, I mean, you know, he played practical jokes all the time, and nobody knew when he was serious or when he wasn't. People thought that his cancer diagnosis was fake, and it was kind of like his magnum opus.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Ted Davies says BKM is an amazing. I'm not going to say that.
Editor.
Yeah, here we go. Jeremy, you say it.
Editor.
Oh, Brian K. Morris says, or make my books, his books, a Christmas gift for people you don't like all that much. Each book sale brings Cookie. Yeah, each book sale brings Cookie that much closer to home. Absolutely. Hashtag bring Cookie home. Sarah says, don't forget
for your enemies.
The comics based on Bachelor's Grove as well. Yes, there are 2 right now that can be bought. They can be bought. All right, guys. Last question of the night. Let's see. So we've kind of touched on this, but so when we're facing these moments, you know, when we are facing, you know, burnout and breakdowns and depressive episodes, what are some strategies that you can use to help yourself through those times? Jeremy,
weighted blanket.
No joke. Blanket. Okay, here's the thing. Like, you may be kidding, but that's not a joke, really. Like, explain yourself, because I felt that thing when I was at your house last time I was there.
Yeah. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a blanket that weighs more than a normal blanket, and most of them are quilted so that they can put like weighted beads in each of the little pockets of the quilt. And you know, it really, really makes a difference. Sometimes when I'm anxious or stressed out or something like that, or I'm feeling bad, I have something called fibromyalgia, and it kind of takes the anxiety and depression and feelings that I have and manifests physically. So I feel like all my muscles are pulled, or I've been doing, you know, exercise and that buildup of lactic acid. It's similar feeling to that, but just like everywhere. Throwing on that weighted blanket, it helps. You know, and you can't be too proud to try something that works like that. You know, if you struggle with those things, you can buy them anywhere on the internet, or I think they sell them now even in like Walmart. But the one that I have is 20 pounds. But they sell like different weights, obviously, for, you know, if you're a small girl, don't get like a giant one. You might get trapped underneath it and can't get out. Right. But, you know, you just buy one and test it out and see if it feels better. You know, we've talked about like the inside and outside, like in our head and things like that, and how we don't want to stay in our head too much. But I think sometimes, you know, doing meditation and things like that, and, you know, instead of, everybody thinks of the idea of like taking everything out of their brain whenever they meditate. But like Sarah was talking about, you know, use that time to take some thoughts and replace them, right? To like take captive those bad thoughts and redeem them for a better purpose. Those are 2 things off the top of my head that I think would be really helpful. Weighted blankets, go get one.
Yeah, I need to, because ever since you told me about it, and then when I felt it, I was like, oh yes. And you can quote me on that, Brian K. Morris, because he said, I felt that thing when I was at your home, Brian Rodman. Okay, there's 2 takeaways for the night. Absolutely, sir. Damien, what do you think?
I think just being open to trying different things, that to find the thing that could help, really is the main thing. if you know that you have, art was always it wasn't my escape. It was my therapy.
Yeah.
It was a little piece of the world that I could create and control.
Mm-hmm.
And I say control in a, because I was pushing the pencil, not so much of like, this is mine. But something that I could have that was mine, and I could keep it, and it was protected from the outside world because it was in my head. And later that became, an issue for letting that out of my head and into the world. But those are the battles we pick. I was suicidal at one point, and I literally walked into traffic and stood there, and a drawing of my comic fell out of the bag I was carrying. I had some books in my hand, and a drawing fell out, and it was going to get it is what saved my life. And I realized that I don't know why, but this means something. So being open to that thought made me realize that I think for anybody, and I've had friends come to me that I've talked to about, whatever issues they have, because I'm the vault. Everybody comes to me and talks to me about everything. And I keep it to myself. But because of that, it's really the best advice and the most common advice I've ever given is that, find something that isn't just alleviate those symptoms. Find something that is good, that can help you move forward, that can help you, deal with what's happening, find coping mechanisms, or find things. Other than that, get a cat. Because my cats are...
I second that. I got 3.
And I was thinking, like, get a cat. Because the weighted blanket, I was like, I need a weighted blanket. I was like, and then my cat's in here bugging me. I'm like, just petting her. And, like, just petting her made me feel better. Just, a little anxious. I'm online.
It's funny you say that, because Dan Hollifield said last time I had something that weighed 20 pounds on me when I slept. It was a cat. So there you go. That's a big cat, man.
Yeah.
It's as diverse of an answer as the problems at hand. So I think just being open, trying different things.
For sure. No, I kind of, to combine both of those, I know for me, I mean, it's not as obvious with Memoirs of an Angel, but I've said this before in different interviews and different episodes of the show. When I was fresh out of high school, realized that I had no clue why I believed what I believed, and I realized that the environment that I went to, that I was raised in church, there were some very questionable beliefs within under the umbrella of Christianity, just that subculture that I grew up in. And I was kind of seeing a lot of things that I didn't think was I didn't even think it added up with the Bible. It was just kind of like man-made weird stuff that I thought was like biblical, but it actually wasn't. And that was kind of a identity crisis for me. And that's really what Memoirs of an Angel became, was that research that I did to figure out why I believe what I believe. I mean, it even led me to seminary to study this stuff and really, find truth. And what I found, and the struggles that I had and still have sometimes. I mean, it's not like, oh, I don't doubt or struggle anymore with my faith.
You just went and like figured everything out.
Yeah, that's it. Now I know everything.
You went to seminary, and now you know.
Right, yeah, and now I'm good. Yeah. No, but like Memoirs of an Angel is my ongoing kind of therapeutic journal of, first of all, what I'm learning about my faith and questions about my faith. I'm not afraid to put that stuff in story form, because so many people struggle with it. So many people want to know why terrible things happen. Like, if there is a God that is all good and all powerful, why does this world suck so much? And that's a valid question. And that's not a question that should just be, miffed off to the side or dismissed somehow. Like there should be real tangible thoughts that go into answering that question and seeking the truth behind those answers. And that's a huge spearhead of Memoirs of an Angel. And so I say all that to say the things that you're going through, things that I am going through personally, I am just pouring it into my work because I know I'm not the only one that's struggling with these things. And honestly, it's better for me to take these thoughts out of my head, attach them to characters, and have them play things out. And it helps me. It helps me come to terms with what I'm dealing with, and it helps me through it. It helps me find answers. And in a way, it's kind of storytelling therapy. And that goes along with art therapy as well. And it's very much just Stephen King, once again, kind of referencing him. He said the difference between horror writers and regular people is instead of going to therapists, we write all our stuff down and get paid for it. and in some ways that's kind of true. You pour all of these thoughts into a piece of art, be it a comic, a book, a piece of music, a toy, whatever. And someone can relate to that. And you have put a lot of your energy into it that can then overflow onto somebody else. And that's a way of being a community, in a sense. It's a way of helping each other out. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So closing thoughts. We got some comments to go through. Good grief. Thank you guys for showing up. This is great. This has been a great interactive episode. Thank you so much. Oh, good grief. I got to get back up to where we were. Sarah said she wants one of those blankets. Nightmares end up with all the blankets on the floor. I don't know if you have night terrors and stuff. Jeremy, do you know? Do they say anything about that with the weighted blanket?
Because
I feel like that might be like constrictive. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Maybe talk to your therapist about that, Sarah. I'm not sure because the reason I say that is because I don't want the blanket to do more harm than good. If you're struggling in your sleep and you can't move or anything, your body might go into panic mode. I don't know. Ted Davies says, ground yourself. Weighted blankets help. I stop. If I start having an anxiety attack, I'll find 3 things. Yeah. Breathe. That's a huge thing in panic attacks, especially if you can look around the room that you're in and start counting things. Start naming things off that are around you. Because what that does is, like he said, it grounds you. It keeps you out of your head and focused on something. And while your body's doing its wonky thing, that it can help you through it. Because panic attacks are no joke, man. They are no fun. Yeah, the weighted cat. That's funny. Carl says Chab had a good point. Try to use the problem to turn it into something productive for you, which is kind of what I was just saying. Was just really what I like to call it is basically turning a frown upside down.
Oh boy.
And Sarah says
people to run with
what?
that. Might be the wrong room of people to help to run with that idea.
Well, it's all right. This is the most open I've opened up about it in any podcast or the like. We're very honored. Again, thank you, Sarah. And keep the details quiet though. Yeah, for sure. Boundaries. That's important. And Brian's just gonna get a weighted cat. That's weird. Ted Davies said, yeah, I know if you feed it enough, it'll be a weighted cat. I also help others get outside of yourself and promote others to their success. And, there's something about that, too. It's not, I have found in times where I have really felt depressed, lonely, whatever. If I reach out to somebody and check on them and help them out, it helps. It helps a lot. And I think that it's because I think we are made to be in community. and we're not made to focus on ourselves all the time. You know, I'm here to focus on Jeremy. Jeremy's here to focus on Damien. Damien's here to focus on me. And we all need to make sure we are taking good care of ourselves, for sure. But,
Chad.
yeah, nobody likes Chad. Oh, Chab. Sorry, Jeremy. Or sorry, Chab. Gosh, I hate this. So, yeah, good point, Ted. Good point. Sarah says, opposite of emotion is another skill. When feeling negative, do or listen to something that creates the opposite emotion. Very, very good. I do that with Christmas music. I do, because I love Christmas music.
Like,
I'm
happy to be here.
Jingle bells. Sarah says this
Don't
conversation
cry anymore.
Says this conversation is so important that I'm going to finish my therapy work for after the discussion. Well, we are at the close once we get through these comments, Sarah. So you will be able to get back to work here soon. Eric Hawkins says therapy and diagnosis of mental health issues have become widely accepted in recent years. Many employers encourage it, insurances cover it, and when before they didn't. Unfortunately, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, with its acceptability, it has become popular to be in therapy or to have a disorder just for attention, which takes away from people who actually need it. And you know what? I would say that's always going to happen. You know, like no matter what you do, when somebody focuses, when a culture or society focuses on a group of people that need help, unfortunately, we live in a broken world. So that's always going to happen. So I think and I don't think this is what you're saying, Eric, but I still think it's not, because I have heard people say, like, use that kind of as an excuse to, well, we don't need to focus on it too much because of these people who are taking advantage of it. Well, first of all, we don't know who they are. And I don't think we should necessarily dwell on that attitude towards it, because if you look at it that way, then the people who really need help aren't going to get it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be met with a bunch of skepticism.
Also, if you're hijacking a disorder for attention, like how normal could you possibly be?
I mean, I would say that's a disorder in and of itself.
Yeah. Like, that the idea of pretending to be something just to get attention, like, there's obviously something going on there that may not look like what you're pretending, but it's still it's indicative of some sort of issue.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of times professionals catch that, and a lot of times if they're good at their jobs, they'll go along with it to the point of them bringing that up when they're sure of it. And I know a couple cases where that has happened, and it's actually helped the person.
Yeah.
So I think that person would need to be in therapy anyway. And if the therapist is catching on to that, they can address the real issue that's going on. Carl said this was a good topic. It seems to have been helpful for some. Yeah, it's been helpful for me, and I'm really glad we talked about it. Sarah says all my therapy is free, so she tries to help with what she's learned. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad. Keep doing that. That's great. She says nightmares due to PTSD. Love feeling swaddled. So yeah, then in that case, the weighted blanket would be perfect for you.
And I will say, even for somebody who, so like Sarah does not, my wife Sarah does not like to be. She has kind of some claustrophobic sort of feelings, and for her, using a weighted blanket, she loves it. So, obviously, take that with a grain of salt. I don't want to have somebody like wig out on my me championing something like weighted blanket, but I think sometimes it kind of overrides some of feelings that we might have otherwise, like claustrophobia, things like that.
Yeah. Ted Davies says, great show, you bearded psychotherapist. I think that's what we should just call this show now. The bearded psychotherapist. You guys rock.
Okay.
You rock, sir. You're
I've been
awesome.
called that before, but not the therapist part.
You bearded psycho. Dan Hollifield says, 18 years ago, when my second wife died, my condolences. I was in the middle of writing a novel, threw myself into finishing it. A year later, years later, I guess, my present wife and I began our romance. Married now, and the book is at a publisher. Very cool, Dan. That's awesome.
Nice.
That's very,
Yeah.
very cool. Congratulations on that. Eric Hawkins says 3 things are whiskey, scotch, and beer. Oh, I see. Yes. I don't suggest running to those things. I'm not going to say I haven't in the past, but I don't suggest it.
I thought there were cigars, fedoras, and scotch. Anyway.
Well, either one. Tasty. There are also YouTube videos of guided meditation for fill in the blank. Yeah, for sure. And Ted Davies says, yes, that too, Eric. Sarah says, wow, say that 5 times fast. No worries. She has plenty of time and thought tonight to work on homework. Oh, and there we go. I've offended him. Good. No. Eric Hawkins says, oh no, I'm saying the people that do need help are finding it harder to get. Oh yes, that is an issue. And the people that do it for attention have their own issues, for sure. Teresa Dunn says she has a mental illness. Yeah, I mean, that's thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you're here, Teresa. We all struggle with mental health. Everybody in this group, and you're welcome here. Brian K. Morris says, great show, gents. Well done. Thanks for sharing, or thanks for doing this. Thank you for being here and participating, sir. Sarah says, not everything is for everyone, and that's okay. Absolutely. Everybody's their own individual. And it is what it is. You got to figure out what works for you. Teresa Dunn says, I have complex, help me out, Damien. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, but I don't have borderline personality disorder. So she has anxiety and depression. Welcome to the club. Yeah. For sure. You are not alone here, madam. Not at all. So glad you're here. Teresa, if you weren't able to catch the whole show, please go back and watch from the beginning, because we are actually going to wrap this up. We are going to come back and talk about this another time soon. I think we got enough interaction, and I think this is definitely a topic worth revisiting. So thank you guys in the comments. Thank you guys for showing up, for being very engaging. This has been a great episode. Damien, thank you once again for doing what Chad could never have done. And
not agree with everything you say.
Yes, indeed. Yes, well done. No, just thank you. And any closing thoughts, Chab or Damien?
No, I think we covered it really well.
I think we did.
I agree. I do think one thing that I say, I'm a nut. Like, I say the words like I'm a nut. Like, I call myself fat. I'm a heavy dude, but that's my terminology, and those are the words I use. To me, they're not derogatory. I mean them in a positive way. It's an acknowledgement of a reality that I am then trying to do something about. And I think a lot of people would be offended if I wouldn't call anybody else that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I do the same thing. And, well, I think that, it's just better to know some people are not going to want that kind of language, and just, it not necessarily even curbing yourself, but just being appreciative of each other's quirks in this arena, so that, we can all keep that dialogue open.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, man. Dan said, took a year to write the book, another year before beginning another romance. Been married to his third wife for 16 years now. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Teresa says, thank you. Sure thing, anytime. And Eric, yes, my man. Much better show with Chab and no Chad.
That's right.
That's right. Oh man. And Lauren says that she thoroughly enjoyed this. Excited to tune in next time. Well done. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Damien, thank you for paying her to say that. And
I'm gonna wash the dishes. Thanks, guys.
yes. I love it. Well, all right. If there is nothing else to be said, thank you all for tuning into the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, hit that bell to get notified when we have a new episode. And as always, have fun, be safe, and take care of yourselves, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. We'll be back. See you later. Have a good one.